my name is Pam Moore, and my talk is on the meaning of life. All right, and I thought I was so original. As an occupational therapist, I work with people who have been stripped of their good health and full function. They often struggle to find meaning in their lives under these circumstances, but they have also shown me a lot about where that meaning lies. In my work, I help adults who are acutely injured or chronically disabled to perform the occupations that they need or want to do by helping them develop skills, modifying their environment, and or training their caregivers. Occupations, of course, include work, but they're any activities that are culturally meaningful or personally meaningful to people. These include self-care tasks like grooming and hygiene, daily tasks like driving and cooking, and hobbies like skiing. Most of my patients, especially those who are permanently disabled, are depressed. They don't know who they are anymore because they can't do the things they used to do anymore. What if pain and disability kept you from doing the things that you do every day? It's not surprising that depression is, take the case of a young father who is no longer able to work or throw a ball around with his son. Every once in a while, though, I have a patient who is very satisfied with their life. And I'm like Santa Claus. He knows if you've been good or bad, and I can tell if a person is happy or depressed. There's obvious clues, like if somebody is yelling at me when I hand them paperwork. But there's also more subtle clues, which I'm not going to get into, because the point is just that there are certain patients that really inspire me. These are the ones that understand that their old life is over. They've stopped being angry about what they've lost, and they understand that their only choice is to create their own future. They understand that who they were before they were injured just doesn't exist anymore, and they do the hard work of figuring out what they still have that's meaningful and how they can construct a new life and what their new roles are. Viktor Frankl was a Holocaust survivor and a psychotherapist who wrote the book Man's Search for Meaning. This work is often quoted in the literature on the experience of disability. There are actually many parallels between the experiences of Holocaust survivors and people with disabilities. In reference to life in a concentration camp, Frankl said, "All we possessed, literally, was our naked existence. What else remained for us as a material link with our former lives?" Similarly, my patients often say things like, "I'm just not who I was before my injury." In his book, Frankl discusses logotherapy, which is psychotherapy with a goal of helping people understand what is the meaning of life. And according to logotherapy, there are 3 ways in which people create meaning in their lives. Number 1, create a work or do a deed. Frankl stated, "A peculiarity of man is that he can only live by looking into the future. We like to get stuff done. This means taking on a project, anything from writing a blog post to writing a book. Roger Ebert survived thyroid cancer, but was left unable to speak. I borrowed his lengthy memoir from the library. I think his book was a project that gave his new life meaning. I think he said it in the book, but I only read the first chapter. Similarly, I had a patient who was an upper-level manager at his company and played golf as a semi-pro before he experienced a debilitating back injury. He's in the process of writing a book, and I think that's one of the reasons he was an extremely nice, upbeat guy. And lest you think that my secret agenda is to get you to write a book, the second tenet of logotherapy is that meaning in life comes from encountering someone or experiencing something. You might think of this as love or relationships or the bonds of family. I had a patient recently who had a degenerative neurological condition, and she couldn't be a librarian anymore, she couldn't drive, but she was able to be with her mother-in-law as she was dying, and just being able to be there for her was hugely important to her and gave her a sense of meaning. I had another patient, a professional photographer, who coached his kids' sports and did all these things before his several failed surgeries limited his use of his right arm. He struggled with devastating depression, but with therapy and hard work, realized that he was more important than just the things that he achieved. The third piece of logotherapy is that we find meaning in life through the attitude we take on unavoidable suffering. In Yiddish, we say, "stop fetching." Jill Bolt Taylor was a Harvard neuroanatomist who had a stroke and wrote about her experiences in her book, My Stroke of Insight. In her book, she emphasized that her rehab was possible because she focused on her abilities, not her disabilities. And so if you're wondering what the meaning of your life is, you can, number 1, have a project or a goal. Number 2, build valuable relationships. And 3, remember that you get to choose your attitude. Thank you.